As women with perfectionism, honestly, one of the most common emotions that shows up is anger. And recently I was having a session with a client who's this high achieving woman, ultra smart, ultra intelligent, like very well rounded. And she carries a lot of anger. And with that anger, it brings shame because she feels like she's not being that perfect mom, perfect spouse, perfect person. Right? So if you've ever felt like your anger won't let you rest or like you're always one step away from messing something up, please know that you're not alone in feeling that way. So the other thing this woman was sharing was that she's been through so much trauma that sometimes she doesn't even recognize if she's in that fight or flight mode anymore because that state of being feels completely normal. So if you can relate to that, hang around in this episode to hear a strategic way to get yourself out of the anger, out of the perfectionism, and stepping back into a life you want to live or stepping into that identity and how you want to show up. Maybe you've tried to defend yourself in ways where other people don't understand. You feel completely misrepresented or misunderstood, even though you've carried yourself through deployments or the needs of your kids or maybe even grandkids, and let alone the everyday chaos. And so now when the perfectionism shows up or the OCD shows up, it feels like another battle, but yet you're fighting it on your own. Here's the truth though, ladies. Your nervous system can learn to reset. You don't have to stay stuck in that cycle of fear or anger and guilt. So today I've got a simple tool for you, one that comes from a whole theory called dialectical behavior therapy or DBT. I modified it slightly just to fit my audience because, well, we'll get to that part. You'll see what I mean when we get there. But this is something that my clients and I practice together. And the best part, it's an acronym just like the military loves to use. So this strategy is called TIPP with 2 P's. So first of all, T is for temperature. With this, I love the idea of you going to get an ice cube because in the moment where you're angry, an ice cube can be like a really quick reset. It gives you a physical grounding activity, but if you don't have access to an ice cube, maybe you can walk outside. Basically, you need some form of change in temperature. It could also be going to the bathroom to splash cold water on your face. And even though this sounds really simple, this is super powerful. Next, I is for intense exercise. And I'm not saying you need to go to the gym, okay? Because I know how it is when you have babies at home or other responsibilities holding you to the house. So think about doing some jumping jacks, going up and down stairs, or high knees, or maybe hop on your bike, like your stationary bike if you have a bike at home. With this, just think 5 to 7 minutes because by doing that 5 to 7 minutes is enough for you to get an endorphin release. Then the first P is for purposeful breathing. This is the part that I slightly modified because the original version says paced breathing and I'm not so much about square breathing. I feel like it's just way too basic. So I like to take things up a notch. So for the purposeful breathing, you first of all need to understand what deep diaphragmatic breathing looks like. So that's the very deep belly breaths where you're getting a lot of air into your diaphragm. And by doing that, you're putting pressure on your vagus nerve that helps signal to the brain that it's time to relax. So once you've got that deep diaphragmatic breathing down, okay, remember your belly is rising, your chest is not. So once you've got that dynamic squared away, next thing you want to practice is the small straw breathing. And I love this technique. I use it myself. It's very, very helpful for moments of anger or a time when you need to pause. Okay, so what you do is you take that big, deep diaphragmatic breath, and then when you exhale, you're exhaling as if you're blowing through a straw and try to blow out for 10 to 15 seconds. While that doesn't sound like a lot, it really, really is whenever you are exhaling. And that pause is often all you need in order to get a reset. And then the last P is for progressive muscle relaxation. I love this technique. You can do it anywhere and everywhere. So think about it where you are going to start with your feet and work your way all the way up your body, going to each muscle group individually with tensing and relaxing. And you try to tense for around 5 seconds and then purposefully release. And you need to remember the deep diaphragmatic breathing as you're doing those exercises. So if you're working with me one-on-one or in a group setting, these are the types of skills that I'll walk my clients through all the time. I've got handouts, I've got audios, all the ways that you can feel supported so that you are successful in implementing these techniques, because these types of techniques, among many others, can change your life. So all in all, when you put together this TIPP technique, you give your body and your brain a chance to shift gears. All right, friend, so that's a wrap for today's episode. We talked about how anger can often show up for people who struggle with perfectionism. I encourage you to try the TIPP technique. And lastly, book a consult with me. I may have a wait list going on. Things have been very busy yet very successful, because my goal is to help you graduate from therapy. So if I do have a spot available, it's because someone has graduated from therapy, and I would love to welcome you in the door. So go to my website at valuedriventherapy.com and book a consult today. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. All right, y'all, stay blessed by the best, and I'll see you next week.